everybody, I'm Cory Minton, and we are back at Splunk's .conf22 on the pavilion floor, right here in the heart of the McLaren Experience Center. And I am beyond excited to welcome Zak Brown, CEO of McLaren Racing, to Splunk.com. Zak, how in the world is it going for you at a conference? It's a tech conference, hopefully one of your favorite sponsors.
It's cool. It's my second year in a row. Last year we did it virtually, so it's great to be here and see everyone, and the various displays of our partnership are pretty cool.
That's exciting. Yeah, we love the idea of obviously seeing Splunk on the car. Gets us all excited. I think you've created an entire new fan base
for
Splunkers. But that's probably one of the things that's most interesting to me is that F1 is on this meteoric rise in terms of popularity, not only in the US, but around the world. And I'm curious, why is it that technology companies specifically seem to be investing so heavily in F1 partnerships today?
Well, I think Formula One is on fire, not literally, but it's great. I mean, we just came out of the Miami race. I think it's always been an awesome sport,
for sure,
but not been a sport that's been maybe inclusive or really focused on the fan and let people kind of behind the scenes. Now that Formula One was acquired by Liberty, I think they recognized, wait a minute, this sport is mega, it's huge, but it's not huge everywhere.
Yep.
If we kind of pull back the curtains a little bit, which is what we've done with Drive to Survive and things of that nature, then more people around the world will see how cool the sport is. So I think that's what's happened.
Yeah.
And then on the technology side, we're the most technically advanced sport in the world.
For sure.
We're on the cutting edge, which is awesome. And I think now what's happening is technology companies are seeing how they can deploy their technology, tell the case study. A lot of them develop new technologies in motor racing and in Formula One, and I think it's a good laboratory for R&D. And then, of course, a lot of your customers, they're into tech, so when you come to a Formula One race and you come into the garage and you look around, it's pretty fascinating content. So I think it's kind of all the above, and it's great to see and great to have Splunk on board. We're a few years into it now.
Yeah, and a few years more to go. We're very excited about it. Now, one of the things that's kind of interesting to me, and we talk about, obviously, Splunk as a data platform company. We're interested in bringing, turning data into doing. And one of the things you said coming out of Baku last week was, you talked about on Instagram, and I'm sure there's a few of your Instagram followers in the room here. You said you were looking to find some more speed out of the car as you think about the Canadian Grand Prix. And I'm curious, how does data play a role in you finding that speed in the car?
I mean, data is really everything. I mean, you've got what we call racer instinct, which is, your gut feel.
Yeah.
That's how the sport used to be run. And then as technology and data has come in, you still have that racer instinct, but it's data driven. And, what's interesting is when I'm on the pit wall, I'd say 9 out of 10 times when my racer instinct says make a call different than what the team has just decided, 9 out of 10 times I'm wrong because they're staring at data that I'm not able to see. So data's king, and now I think what Splunk help us do is, we have over 300 sensors on the car. We pull down it's 1.5 terabytes a weekend. So you can get all this data, but it's how quickly can you process that data and have it be useful data. Data just for data's sake is just clutter. And so now we rely on our partners to help us not only grab that data, but tell us what that data says so we can make more informed decisions. And we need to make decisions within seconds most of the time. And so it's fascinating on pit wall. 9 out of 10 times I'll literally go, I'm not sure that's the right call. Yeah. And then 9 out of 10 times I go, you know what? There's a reason why I keep my mouth shut.
That's right. Data don't lie sometimes. We always hear that. Data does not lie. Well, one of the things you talked about a second ago is that not only is F1 most technologically advanced, racing sport, or sport, frankly, there is, but McLaren's always been a leader in technical innovation. And one of the things that I've started seeing you guys do, and I'm curious your perspective on, is I'm hearing you guys are leaning in on some of these disruptive technologies like, crypto and this whole idea of NFTs, gaming and esports. What is your perspective as a leader of McLaren Racing? How are those disruptive technologies coming into play for your strategy for the future?
Yeah, so we're trying to get a competitive advantage on the track, but also very much off the track. This last year we were voted the fans' favorite team, which was awesome, and I think a lot of that is credit to our drivers, our marketing team, our digital team, and our partners. But it's also, Formula One and sport used to be all about awareness.
Yeah.
Now the term is now all about engagement, and you can engage with the fans via data. So, I'm trying to get our engineers smarter with data, but then also trying to give our fans a better experience. And if I look at some of the stuff that I've just been seeing over here around the race car, that's fascinating. And I think that's one of the things that's really cool about our sport. Some people like the on-track, some people like the off-track politics, some people like the data and the tech, and so there's just so many different ways to consume Formula One, and data is right in the center of it.
Yeah, it's interesting to me. You talk about the consuming Formula One, both on-track and off-track. I got to ask, like that Netflix series, I have talked to so many people who literally became F1 fans and got drawn into it because of that series. For you, like how invasive is it to be part of that series, and how accurate of a reflection is it of the politics and dynamics that really go on?
It, you get used to it. They've done a great job. They now kind of put themselves in team uniforms. So actually the bigger problem isn't worried about them. It's forgetting that they're there.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're using long booms and you're mic'd up, and you kind of, after they mic you up, and you kind of forget they're there, and then you get in the heat of the battle. So I'd say it's easy to work with them. They know how to fit in. They've never breached anyone's trust because, they're hearing some stuff that's pretty confidential at times. So they're great to work with. And, it's been great for the sport. And I think with it, it's 90% accurate, and then it's got some 10% drama to it. But that's what you would expect. It's TV, but it's great TV.
It is. Yeah, I've heard people call F1 the traveling circus, and it gets that feel. But man, is it cool? Well, one of the things we talk about F1, obviously, in-person experience is phenomenal at the track, but there is this idea that it's to be more inclusive. When you talked about esports, is really that path to really engage a new community, a new generation of folks who are race fans. You guys were the first ones to really get behind esports and start your own team. How does McLaren Shadow, the esports team, how does that fit into the kind of the overall strategy, and how do you see it shaping McLaren?
We see it very much as a real racing platform. When I grew up, esports, which didn't exist, but it was a video game. Now this is real simulation, right? This is real data. So, you can take an esports driver and turn him into him or her into a real racing driver. And so we use simulation in everything that we do. Also, motor racing has historically been very expensive to participate. I think one of the reasons why soccer is so popular around the world is you need a ball and some grass, and you use two cones and you're playing. Now with esports, while it's not inexpensive, it's much more affordable. So it's almost like our grassroots form of motor racing, and it's a great way to get young men and women involved. A lot more people can do it. Everyone kind of feels like a racing driver at some point. Everyone's wanted a steering wheel in their hand. I know I did growing up. And now you compete, the technology, we're not far away between being able to actually compete in the Monaco Grand Prix against Lando or Daniel and the grid. So the technology is only going to get better and better and better. And so it was important for us to be early in, and we very much treat it as a real racing vertical for us.
That's fantastic. Now, you're a pretty accomplished racing driver, and I saw we had you over there in the Sims showing off your skills. You actually ran lap times, I don't know if we told you this, but you actually ran lap times fast enough to qualify for the championship race.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So a pretty accomplished racing driver, and I've seen, you've had some fantastic sort of experiences that you've used your collection to kind of have some fun. I saw, Danny and the Dale Earnhardt. But I'm curious, what is your favorite car to drive on your favorite track in the world?
It's unfortunately one I can't really fit in anymore, which is I have Ayrton Senna's 1991 Monaco winner. And so I'm a McLaren guy. Senna was my guy. And Monaco is the kind of pinnacle of Formula One. And so that kind of ticks all the boxes. Unfortunately, the one box it doesn't tick is being able to actually get in and drive it. So that would be my favorite car. I'm a car guy. My other one would be I have Emerson Fittipaldi's 1989 Indy 500 winner that he won the championship in. Emo was McLaren's first world champion, was also an IndyCar champion and Indy 500 winner, drove for Roger Penske, who was my hero. So that one ticks a lot of boxes. So that would be number 2.
That's very cool. Now, this is an exciting weekend ahead. Canadian Grand Prix, we're excited. It's actually for a lot of us that are in the time zone here in the U.S., it's a fantastic race we get to enjoy during the day so we can have our fun, not early in the morning when it's too early to really party too much. What are you looking for out of the team this weekend in Canada?
I think it's going to be wet Friday and Saturday, which is going to make it an interesting weekend.
Yeah.
We want to be in Q3, the final qualifying, and both cars is up towards the front as we can. I think the Montreal race should suit our car. We're still playing catch up, so we're fourth in the championship right now. So I'd love to see, Lando and Daniel, both in the top 10 and see if we can put together a lap that maybe gets us a little further up the grid than maybe the cars should be. We're working on it.
Yeah, for sure.
But Lando and Daniel are, you couldn't ask for two better drivers to have racing for.
Oh, fantastic. I'm curious, as the, big change this year in the car, do you think that the changes in the car are having the intended impact on the racing that you wanted to see?
Yeah, I think, it was intended to have the racing be closer. And if you look at like the first race, Leclerc and Verstappen going back and forth, passing each other, so the cars can definitely race more closely together.
Yeah.
I think anytime you have a new rule change, it spreads out the grid a little bit, and then over time it starts to come together. So I think the cars are more raceable, which was the goal. I think the grid will close up. It's definitely going to be a Ferrari-Red Bull battle this year. Hopefully we can put ourselves in the mix in the next year or two, being right at the front on a regular basis. But I think the cars look good. You see the different design features. Everyone was a little concerned, are they all going to look the same? And they all look a lot different.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Now, I did see that you guys have made some pretty big investments on the IndyCar side of things. So obviously into the Aero McLaren SP partnership, but also a pretty big announcement around the facility that you're building here in the U.S. Tell the folks a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we've got an IndyCar team. We're going to go from 2 cars to 3 cars. We almost won the Indy 500 this year.
That's right.
Second, fourth, and 11th. So that was bittersweet.
Yeah.
Second, I'm not sure if second's great or the worst the position
it's tough,
to finish in. But it was a great run, and so we're building a brand new facility. We acquired a team, so we're fully committed to IndyCar. We've won the Indy 500 3 times, and so it's something that we've won a couple races in the last couple of years. We're going to a 3rd car. We just announced Alex Rossi's going to join us in a brand new facility, and more racing the better.
Well, excellent. Well, Zach, it's been excellent to have a chat with you. I do want to shift gears here, to use a little motor racing term. We are excited to welcome Lando Norris to join us. Now, we had originally intended for Lando to come racing with us, but it looks like we've had a little bit of a technical difficulty. But Lando, welcome to Splunk.conf. How are you doing there in Montreal?
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Hello to everyone at Splunk.conf. I'm great. The weather's lovely at the minute. Lovely couple of days off, relaxing, preparing for this weekend. But actually, the weather looks like it's going to go downhill and actually get quite wet over the next few days. But I look forward to it.
So I've got to ask, we were chatting with your team about your schedule. Preparation for a race weekend feels like it has got to be a grind. Like, what does it feel like to go through that step in that process of getting yourself ready to go perform at your best?
It's something I've been doing since I was 7 or 8 years old. So it's something you get a lot more used to over the years. But it's part of it, right? It's something you have to be good at. It's not as simple as just jumping in the car and driving quickly. There's a lot more to it, especially when you get to Formula One. So, a lot of it already started a few weeks ago. I've come straight over from the previous race. So I've had to do all my simulator work. So the preparation for Montreal I had to do before I flew out from the last race. And therefore you already start learning, and preparing, and I'm prepared in terms of my driving, or as prepared as I can be. But there's still many things you learn over the next few days, and we'll be having meetings over Thursday, and obviously into the preparation side on Friday when we get driving. But just a lot of meetings, a lot of discussions, some different things on the car this weekend as well. So it's tough, but most of all the conditions are going to play a big part. Normally all the testing you do on the simulators in the dry and the beautiful sun, but it's harder to get the wet conditions realistic and so on. So I think that's going to be the biggest challenge for this weekend.
Yeah, I get that. So one thing, you said it a couple times there, you talked about racing simulators. And I think most of us have seen you, racing online. You've got a fantastic, Twitch stream and a following there. I'm curious, how big of a role does simulators actually play in your preparation each week?
It's huge. It's, it's hard to know, it's hard to put an exact number on, but it has to help. I learn my driving styles and different things that I can learn personally. Mm-hmm. And just get back into the flow of the track. And we have FP1, FP2, and FP3. So in terms of having sessions, 3 is quite a bit, but it's not a lot of time to just jump right in, because you want every little advantage you can get over everyone that's on the racetrack at the same time. So it's huge. I think most important thing is it decides how we set up the car for the first practice session of the whole weekend. And obviously, if we can put it in the best window possible, it makes our life much easier going through the weekend, and we don't need to try and scrap and find out how to make the car go a lot quicker. The simulator is mainly used for those little bits of help for myself, but also setting up the car, and I go through everything with my engineers and everyone back in the factory to make sure we prepare from that side as well as possible, and we're confident with how the car's going to perform from the first lap we do.
That's awesome. Well, I asked, we've actually got some of the team from McLaren Shadow here, so the esports team that you guys, I know you've partnered with them a bunch. We asked them this question, but I'm curious your perspective. We've got a bunch of racers here that are trying to get faster in the sims on the F1 2021 game. We've got a fantastic experience, 8 simulators, all McLaren branded up, and they look super cool. But what is a piece of advice you'd give them if they're trying to get faster in the sim and shave off seconds off their lap time?
Practice. What is the thing? I think one thing that normally helps a lot, especially if it's new to you, is to watch professionals or people who are good at doing that certain job. Watch them and see what they do. I think like visually, you can learn a lot. You can learn from even sound, and you learn the gears, you learn their braking points. So much stuff is done through visual. So being able to watch someone and watch how they attempt it, at least it gives you some good ideas to begin with. But you can always ask Zak as well. You know, Zak's a professional racing driver, or he likes to believe. So if they need any tips, I'm sure they can ask him.
Does he always give you grief over being
He
a pro?
does. So I was gonna test his history and say who won the 2008 Montreal support race.
Oh, Zak Brown.
Yeah, see, he knows his history.
There you go. That's fantastic.
I can't say what type of car it was in.
Well, it is generally a good idea to always know things that about your boss's career. That is some solid advice. I appreciate that. Well, Lando, I'm sorry we can't race with you, but I'm just like, when you think about the Canadian Grand Prix, what is your ideal outcome this weekend?
Ideal is to win.
Let's go.
But it's tough. You know, we've got a lot of work we need to continue to do. It's a tough, it's a tough job because especially with these new cars we have, everyone's developing so much, and everyone's working so hard to make the cars quicker. And you have little new bits you add to the car every single weekend. But it's about doing even more than them, which is the tough part, and that takes time and so on. But we're making small bits of progress. Every weekend we continue to develop and make little things better. So we'll continue to do that. Both cars in the points is always the first target. You know, to get into Q3 is a good target. But both cars finishing in the points like we had in Baku is the main thing. You know, we need to look at our main competitors that we're against and try and beat them. But with the conditions, with the rain and dry, I think it wasn't so long ago, a few years ago, there was a race that Jensen Button won in pretty terrible conditions. So I think something like that, or trying to repeat that, would be lovely.
That's fantastic. Well, we were talking before that data plays a big role in, you know, running and being successful in racing of all sorts, but clearly in F1. From your perspective, how does data, like when you get out of the car, what's the most interesting data that you look at that's really helpful to you to shave those precious milliseconds off your lap times?
Most simply, it's the data of Daniel. You know, it's a guy who's a different person. He drives with a different driving style. It's just a different person, you know, so how he thinks of driving is very different. So just simply looking up the data against him, just looking at where he's braking, what gears he's using, places I need to brake later or earlier or throttle more or less, just literally the most simple things, you know. The things that everyone can do, but it's about the timings, which is incredibly difficult to do, and actually putting it onto the racetrack is the hard part. But just looking at the steering, and throttle and brake pedal. I guess like those are the most simple ways of saying what I need. But like I said, actually putting it into practice and going out and converting the data into actually something on track is tough. But there's so many bits of data. You know, everything is pretty much data driven now in Formula One. But not just the car. You know, everything that helps the driver is data driven, and you got all the videos, all the bits of data. But the crucial ones for me as a driver are the ones I just mentioned.
I love it. Well, we're going to shift gears to the races, but Lando, I have the honor of, I think the last time you and I talked was the first time you ever got to do a ladies and gentlemen, start your engines. And so I'm gonna have Zak do it this time for our McLaren Splunk Championship here at conf22. Lando, thank you so much for joining us, buddy. We wish you the absolute best. I will tell you, my kids, B and Teddy, are cheering you on like crazy, and we're super fans. So, bud, we wish you the best of luck. But Zak, if you'd be so kind, would you give us a Grand Marshal start?
Are we ready? I've never done it before.
Have you not?
No.
This is 2 that I've done. I've got 2 of the first. This is great.
Are we ready? We're ready. All right.
Let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, start those engines.